What's up guys, TopTierYugioh here, and today we have an Extra Deck Monarch deck profile for you. I think this is going to be a really strong deck for Nationals. It has a high enough ceiling to outplay most other decks, while also having outs to problem monsters with Erebus, Stormforth, and having one of the stronger late games this format. Once the Monarch engine gets going, it's very hard to overcome for most decks, and that probably gives Monarch players the biggest edge. The only problem that Monarchs really have is that they can brick sometimes, but it's not as bad as people make it seem. It's really sort of just a recurring joke. But let's go ahead and get into the profile. 3 Ether because it's one of the more important cards of the deck. It gets you to your Monarchs and your Spell and Traps. So it single-handedly gets you to every other card in your deck pretty much. So you need to play it at 3, and the more you see it, the more likely you are to win. 2 Erebus. The reason I don't play 3 is that once you see 1, you never need to see it again, and you can always search it off of Return or Ether, so you don't need 3 necessarily, although a 3rd wouldn't be bad. 2 Karaz. It's useful for destroying usually your own cards that you can draw, but you can also destroy your opponent's cards as well, and that comes up every now and then when you need to. It's also important for rank 6s. And then 2 Edea and 2 Eidos. 2 Quickdraw Synchrons for summoning Ultimaya Tzolkin. 2 Red Layers. I chose this over Mithra because when you draw your second Mithra, it's the same as the first Mithra. But when you draw your second Red Layer, it gets back the first Red Layer, and you can kind of start a loop. And you also can't go into your extra deck when using Mithra, and I don't like that too much either. So we play 1 Dark Witch. So just for the Brilliant Fusion, we chose this over Jack's Knight because it's fairy, so if you do run in the rivalry of the Warlords, which you probably won't, Dark Witch can play around that. And the last 2 monsters are 2 Gem-Knight Lazuli for the Brilliant Fusions. For the Monarch spells, we have 3 Pantheism, 3 Tenacity, 3 Stormforth, 3 Return, and 2 Domain. Then the other spells are 3 Brilliant Fusion, 1 Tuning to search Quickdraw Synchron, and 1 Foolish Burial, which gives the deck a lot of utility. And the only traps you play are, of course, the 3 primes. For the extra deck, 2 Gem-Knight Seraph Knight, 1 Ultimaya Tzolkin, 1 Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, and Arch-Lightsworn Synchro for what we summoned from Ultimaya Tzolkin. I chose these 2 because Crystal Wing can negate monster effects, which is very powerful obviously, but Michael can banish monsters, which comes up a lot in the mirror match where you can banish Prime, banish Ethers, and Erebus. It's good against Burning Abyss. If they've already used Beatrice, you can just banish it, or you can banish Dante's. And then it also mills during the end phase, so it helps you get your things in the graveyard so you can use their effects such as Pantheism and Prime. So it has a few different uses. Then for the XYZ monsters, we have 1 Shark Fortress, 1 Durandal, 1 Volcasaurus, 1 Pleiades, 1 Tiras, and 1 Zimeo for the rank 5s. For the rank 6s, we have 1 Beatrice and 1 Constellar Ptolemy M7. I actually really like Beatrice because of the utility it gives you. You can send an Erebus if you need another Monarch monster. You can send Edea if you need a banish spell or trap. Eidos if you want to banish it to summon back an Edea, then get some more tribute fodder going. Pantheism or Prime for their effects. Beatrice does a lot for the deck, and it's really useful to go into. I like M7 as well for getting back your Ethers, your Edeas, even sometimes Quickdraw Synchron. It's also good in the side deck when you're getting back like Veilers and Maxis and stuff. So M7 is really useful. And the final 2 XYZ monsters is 1 Gaia Dragon the Thunder Charger and 1 number 38 Hope Harbinger. For the side deck, 1 Majesty's Fiend, 3 Maxis, 3 Veilers, 1 Ignister, 2 System Down, 3 Twin Twisters, and 2 Retorts. And Retort's probably the one card that nobody knows what it does. So what Retort does is when your opponent activates a spell or trap card, if you have that card in your graveyard, negate your opponent's card and then add it from your graveyard to your hand. So in this deck, it's really good in the mirror match because you can send whatever spell and traps you want to the graveyard depending on the situation. So when you have Retort, you can pretty much negate anything that your opponent does. So there's certain situations where, say your opponent needs to play Domain to summon a monster. You just send your Domain with your Ether or Erebus and then you Retort theirs. Or you can negate like their Pantheism, their Tenacity, Stormforth. You're bound to have all of the same spell and traps in the graveyard at some point in the game. And how you manage them is going to allow you to negate what you need to negate, while also getting it back to your hand. And like there's no greater pleasure than like on your own turn, your opponent tries to Stormforth Ether one of your monsters, and then you retort their Stormforth, add your own Stormforth to your graveyard, and then Stormforth their monster to summon yours. Like retort is ridiculous. It's a lot of fun. So as for what I side in and out, in every matchup, except for the Monarch Mirror match, I side out Eidos, Foolish Burial, and Tuning. The reason I side those out is that Eidos is pretty bad to draw. You really just want to draw Edea. Then I side out the one Foolish and the one Tuning because they are expendable. This deck is so tight, and the only real extra card is Tuning. Foolish is sort of an engine card as well, but you gotta do what you gotta do to side in the better cards. So in the Monarch Mirror match, I side out one Foolish Burial, one Tuning, and then I also side out one Domain. Because in the Mirror match, your opponent's gonna have Tribute monsters as well, so when you storm forth their monster, if your opponent has a Tribute summoned monster, that's the only thing you need. And so a lot of times you don't need Domain's reducing effect as well. And then I side in 3 Veilers. If I'm going first, I also side out one Return of the Monarchs and then Dark Witch for both the retorts. Against Kozmos, I side out one Eidos, one Foolish Burial, and one Tuning. Then I side in 2 System Downs and 1 Majesty's Fiend. Against Burning Abyss, I side the same 3 cards out, but I also side out 1 Return. And then I side in 3 Maxis and 1 Majesty's Fiend. Against Pendulums, again, side the same 3 cards out, and I side in 3 Twin Twisters. Now in the extra deck, I do take out the Michael and replace it with an Ignister against Pendulums. Because when you're going against Pendulums, you can summon Ignister from Ultimaya Tzolkin, and you can like destroy one of their scales, spin the other one back to their deck, or shuffle back any sort of problem card that they have on the field. Summoning Ignister is actually really good. Crystal Wing is also really good, but Ignister is kind of better than Michael is. But in most matchups, I really don't feel like I need to side too heavily because this deck is just better than most of the other decks in the meta right now. So I don't think the siding is super important for this deck, except in the mirror match. But most other matchups, you're kind of playing down. But anyways, let me know what you guys think about this deck. Again, I think it's a very strong choice for Nats. And I would be surprised if a few Tzolkin Monarchs didn't top because this deck is insane. Being able to, first you have more special summon monsters because of Quickdraw Synchron. So you can tribute summon a little bit easier. It raises your ceiling so much having access to Crystal Wing and Michael. Like those are 2 outs to the other best 2 decks. Like Crystal Wing outs Cosmos easily. Michael outs Beatrice and Dante. Like you already have outs to them, but this is just a whole nother way to do that. And with Crystal Wing, a whole nother way to negate their effects too. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. Let me know if you'd be interested in a Domain Monarch deck profile or also any Monarch strategy videos. Because I do have some that I've been thinking about. Because I actually made a Monarch guide, when Monarchs first came out, I made like a how to play Monarchs thing. Then I thought they were going to get hit in the April ban list, and they didn't. And then XYZ Monarchs got big, and I just kind of like held back on it. Because I was just always waiting for the next ban list to hit them. But if you guys would be interested in any like Monarch strategy videos, I could definitely get started on that before the upcoming ban list, whenever that may be. But anyways guys, thanks for watching, and I will catch you all later.